Alright, so let's look at the 2015 Geography Paper 2. We're going to answer the entire paper. Okay, so let's look at question 1. So question 1 reads, question 1A reads, on figure 1, name in the spaces provided below the map the irrigation schemes marked A and B. Alright, so we have our map right there. So we've been asked to do what? To name irrigation schemes marked A and B. Alright, so we have our A there and our B here. So we're going to use what? These spaces to answer in the exam. This is where you write your answers. So what are the answers? So for scheme A, that is what we call the what? The Mpungwe wheat scheme. So irrigation A here, this is what we call what? The Mpungwe wheat scheme. So we move on to scheme B. Scheme B is what we call the Gwembe Valley Development scheme. The Gwembe Valley Development scheme. Alright, so we move on to the next question. The next question is what we call question B, question B1. The question reads, state the factors that favor irrigation in the areas shown on the map. State the factors that favor irrigation in the areas shown in the map. Okay, so what do you understand by the term irrigation? Irrigation simply means ways of what? Watering the plants. Okay, ways of what? Watering the plant. So now they're asking you, what are the favors that makes it possible for the people who are in those areas to have proper irrigation scheme? So the first factor you need to know is what? You see, availability of what? Availability of water for irrigation from Kafue River and Lake Kariba. So the presence of Kafue River and Lake Kariba makes it possible for irrigation to take place in those areas. So we move on to the next point, which is what? The presence of what? Fertile soils for agriculture. Presence of what? Fertile soils for agriculture. So the soil there is very fertile for growing what? For growing crops. That's why those areas are good and well irrigation properly systems are used. And then the other factor is what we call easy access to transport, both road and railways. This simply means that when the crops which are being grown there are harvested, they are easily transported to the marketplace. Okay, there's no difficulties on the roads while transporting the same crops once they are harvested. So the next point is what? High demand for the agricultural products by the local market due to large population in the country and other countries. Okay, so here this simply means that the demand is very It's very high. It's very high. That's why those irrigation systems that are used, the demand for agricultural products is very high in the market and in other countries. Hence, causing them to make sure that their crops are well irrigated. So the other factor which affects those is what enough capital for buying machinery and irrigation equipment. So you need enough money for you to operate those machines and to buy the irrigation equipment, because there are equipment needed. Remember, irrigation is a man-made way of watering the crops. It's not by natural like the rains. No, irrigation, which means you have to build there's those same ways to water the same crops. Alright, so we move on to question B2. So question B2 reads, list 2 irrigation crops for each scheme. Okay, so under the Mpungwe scheme, there's what we call the wheat and maize. Those are the main crops which are grown using the Mpungwe scheme. Then under the Gwembe scheme, this is what we call what? Under the Gwembe scheme, the crops which are grown are what? Cotton and wheat. So look at question C1. So question C1 needs explain the factors that favor Zambians commercial farming potential in the SADC region. Okay. So the factors that favor what? That favors Zambians commercial farming potential. Alright, so in short, in other words, they are asking us to do what? To state the factors that helps Zambia to be on top in terms of commercial farming. That helps Zambia to be on top in terms of what? Commercial farming. So one of the factors is what? Huge piece of arable land for large scale production. There's enough space for growing the same crops. Then the other thing is adequate rainfall to support growth of the crops. So the current experience is what? Enough rainfall and huge piece of what? Land for growing the same crops. Then the other thing is that the fertile alluvial soil application of fertilizer and application of what? Fertilizers. So the soil is fertile and we also use fertilizers to produce what? Good yields of what? Crop which are produced. And the other thing is what? Ready market for the produce or from the SADC countries. So the market is also what? Ready to buy the same goods. So these are the points you should bring out when you answering essay questions in geography. Remember, answering questions in geography is supposed to answer them in what? In bullet form or in point form, whichever you prefer. So the points are many. So we move on to question C2, the last question. So what negative factors are associated with commercial farming in Zambia? So in short, what are the negative effects of commercial farming? Number one is what you call likely to be affected by fluctuations in prices. The prices may change from time to time, hence causing the expense of running the same crops causing the expense of growing the same crops to be what? To be high. And the other factor is what you call can be negatively affected by climatic changes, changes such as what? Drought. So it's very important in geography to give what? Examples. So when you're growing crops for commercial farming, you may be affected by the climatic change. For example, like global warming. You may have too much rain or no little what? Rains. You may have floods or you may not have what? Floods. Those are the effect of what? Climatic changes. So we move on to what you call the inputs are expensive. For example, the inputs may be too expensive for you to continue running your commercial farming in Zambia. The other factor is what? It contributes to deforestation, since when you want to start growing crops for commercial farming, you need a large piece of land, which causes you to cut down trees on that large piece of land, hence causing what? Deforestation. Geography is simple, guys. Don't fear geography. Geography is very simple. So we'll continue. May encourage fertilization or even soil erosion due to monoculture. Most of the companies or plantations which grow which practices commercial farming in Zambia are normally use monoculture, which simply means that growing of one type of crop on the same piece of land. This causes what? Soil erosion. Okay, so moving on to question 2, 2015 paper 2 geography. So question 2 reads, A1 reads, what are deciduous trees? What are deciduous trees? Oh, so deciduous trees, these are simply trees that shed their leaves once in a year. Or in other words, we can simply say it, the shed deciduous means periodic shedding of leaves by the trees. This is another way you can use. Or the other way you can say it is simply the shedding of leaves of a tree once a year. So move on to question A2, 2015. Give 4 examples of deciduous trees in Zambia. Give 4 examples of what deciduous trees found in Zambia. Alright, so the first example is of mukwi, the muki tree, the mulu, the mbunga, and the bamboo trees, etc. So move on to question B. So question B reads, discuss the significance, or rather the importance of forestry to human beings. Alright, so we need to discuss it, we need to bring out points which show that forests indeed are important to what? To human beings. So the first point is what you call what? Source of building materials such as poles, grass houses for homes and schools. So in short, it's important for what? It's important because it provides building what? Building materials for the people. Examples of building materials is what? Poles, grass houses for homes and schools. You can use grass to build what? Houses and even schools. In villages, they do that. So we move on to the next point. So the next point says for the carrier industry. Cavings, fibers and baskets. So the carrier and industry, this is the type of industry which deals with making of baskets, cooking wooden cooking sticks and the etc. Okay, provides materials for those industries. And the other point is source of fuel, e.g. charcoal and firewood. The source of fuel for e.g. like charcoal and firewood. The points are many, so we're going to be looking at 4. Normally in geography is 4 points, but you can, depending on the mark. For example, if they say this is 4 marks, it simply means just need to give out how many points? 4 points. Okay, as this is a video, we're going to make sure that you get all the possible answers. So we move on to how many points have I explained? 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, we are done from there, but you can read the other ones as well.